Okay.
Ooh.
Feels like the Howard Stern show. Like it's like no music. We just need like a female DJ.
Oh god.
Like off of the corner, just commenting and shit.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to him?
Howard Stern?
Is he still on the air?
Oh yeah, dude, he's still around.
For real?
Yeah, I think so.
I used to have to sneak and watch him when I was a kid.
Everybody was just talking about his he doesn't have the best track record.
Oh no, not at all.
You know, as far as being politically correct is concerned. So everybody's been kind of hyped up on him lately, talking about his past a little bit. So
yeah,
but I think I don't know. I guess he's still up.
I do not know. Is the mic in my face? Like,
Yeah, it's good.
all right, I can see you.
Yeah, I can
if
see
it gets
you.
intense and we need
I
to
think
make
it's great.
eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
How was your day?
Pretty good. I can't really complain. It's pretty low key.
It's an early show today.
Early show.
I like it.
It's still light out.
So-
See what happens.
I know for a fact you're not a vampire.
Yeah. Well, you know. Wow.
Bad Guys in Bourbon.
It's pretty good.
What you got? What you got today?
Smoked Maple by Knob Creek.
So if you're not hip, if you didn't tune in the last season, we hence the title Bad Guys in Bourbon, but it kind of turned into us being the bad guys and then the bourbon.
Yeah, we used to kind of review villains. Was kind of the
Yeah.
concept of the show. We would kind of deep dive on villains. I'm sure we'll get back to that and spend some time doing that. But now we're just drinking whiskey, talking about
Yeah, I think
movies and TV shows.
world is tenfold like that. Maybe we are the villains.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
I'm not mad at that.
So I think last time we kind of left off talking about Stranger Things a little bit. We were kind of getting ready to brush up against that. We were talking about the fact that they were doing a two-part season. Season 4 was going to be volume 1, volume 2, and then season 5 was going to be the last season.
You want to jump into that a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk about that real quick. Kind of brush up on it.
I think it's tough for shows that feature children to kind of hold that same, I don't know, for lack of better words, innocent energy, right?
Yeah,
Because
they're definitely getting older.
Yeah, and as they get older, you kind of lose the vibrance of them being children, you know? So I'm happy they're gonna just get to an end point. I'm sad that I'm not sad that they're growing up, but they're such great child actors.
Yeah, they really hit a home run with that. Super fortunate. So many shows really struggle to establish a good cast like that.
It's gonna be one of those legacy things, like oh yeah, those were the kids from Stranger Things.
Yeah, they kind of have that going now, though, even with like Ghostbusters and whatnot. Like, I feel like those characters pop up and you're like, oh man, that's, Stranger Things. It's so.
What are your predictions?
That's tough. I mean, I feel like it's going to be tough for the show to really do anything too crazy or like to kill anybody off in a meaningful way. I think that I think they're going to do a lot of like fan service probably.
Yeah.
I think if any, like, it's not to say that they can't do that. It just seems like they don't want to upset the fan base.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a little heavy, and then it will take a lighter tone. I hope.
Maybe.
I don't want to see any of the kids die. Like, that would suck.
Yeah, I think we could see, Hooper die or the mother.
I could even see 11 dying.
Yeah, maybe.
She's kind of...
But I feel like people would get too upset if 11 died. So I feel like that...
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no to that. Oh, speaking of people dying, we made a little prediction last time, or at least I did, on Peacemaker. Did you finish Peacemaker?
Yeah, I did. I finished it
yesterday,
midday. So no, what's today? What's today? Tuesday. Ambulance coming to get me for my dementia. I think I finished it either Sunday or Monday. I don't remember, but I did finish it, and we called it. They didn't lose anybody.
Didn't lose anybody. Yeah. No, I thought they were going to kind of play it safe, if you will. On the outro, I thought they kind of had already killed off everybody that they were maybe intending to kill off. So I thought we were safe.
I love how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, it was a great, great finale for the season. Really, really strong. It's hard not to have a blast with that show, and they didn't lose. Like, it is very comedy forward, but they don't rely on that 100%. So it's great. Like, there's definitely more to it.
Yeah.
Like, there's more substance to it than that, but it's so effective as a comedy. So it was a blast. Really glad that they did that. Happy to see that they're coming back for more.
I think Economos is probably my favorite character.
Yeah.
Next to Vigilante, but Economos is just very, like, matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like that's, and then him having the revelation about his beard.
Oh yeah.
I just thought that was just like awesome. Like, that was just a perfect
there's
Inception
some
moment.
really great moments, and that was certainly one of them.
If you haven't seen Peacemaker, please, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those you don't have to be a comic book fan or a DC fan, and it's just good. It's just good fun comedy, like dark comedy, and it gets heavy at points, but it was still great. It was still great. I love the cameo.
At the very end.
Sick. Yeah.
That was great. That was definitely a lot of fun. I was glad that they were able to pull that off. It seemed like a long shot. I kind of thought maybe at one point they referenced Justice League, and I kind of thought, well, maybe we would see some component of that. But
I didn't expect for him to like actually show up.
Yeah, I didn't expect for it to be so literal.
Yeah.
But that was really fun. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's not a rumor, dude.
Yeah.
Whew. I didn't expect for DC to kind of taint their holy grail of heroes like that, but it's them poking fun at it, which I appreciate it.
They really, I think, at this stage in the game have to hold on to any successful outing that they have, right? So and James Gunn has performed for them, right? So I think they're going to kind of give him...
Oh, yeah.
They'll roll out the red carpet for him, and they'll kind of give him access to things that maybe they wouldn't give to everybody else, just because, again, like, this is a win for them, and they don't have many of those. So I feel like that's important to them. It matters.
And what I appreciate about this show is that it doesn't mind poking fun at itself.
Yeah.
You see that with that cameo.
It's really hard to do that effectively and not come off like corny or kind of like you can abuse that pretty easily, and you can really kind of
it's that real.
It can be a misstep.
Fourth wall kind of Deadpool-esque comedy, which they DC finally got their in. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, it's great. Which brings me to another comic book series coming up, Moon Knight.
Ooh.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit? I'm actually not very familiar with Moon Knight, the character.
Okay. Moon Knight is a very risky character for Disney to do, which is odd. It wasn't one of my first choices that I would see them do. I would think he would fall more into the Netflix genre because he's very violent. So if you're not familiar, Moon Knight is essentially kind of Marvel's version of Batman. He wears a cowl with a hood and he's masked, but he does have supernatural powers that are granted upon him from another comic book entity named Khonshu. And Khonshu is an Egyptian god, and the character that plays Moon Knight is his name is Mark Spector. And Mark Spector is a mercenary, does wet work stuff, and upon doing mercenary work in Egypt, stumbles upon the tomb of Khonshu, reads the tablet, Egyptian tablet, or whatever that's called, and the hieroglyphics, and person that reads this will be the Fist of Khonshu.
Sure.
And he's granted these mystical, the superhero baseline stuff, superhero strength, and and his body is kind of like wrapped in these, like a mummy kind of.
Yeah. Now he's not like permanently in that outfit, right? That's
No.
not, like he can like transition in and out of that, right?
Right. And what's sick about it is when he was granted the powers, he created these. Mark suffers from personality dissociative disorder, which is different than multiple personalities.
Okay.
That's right. He created these personalities to help him gain intel into the criminal world, right? So he has one entity that's like a cab driver who does like the low level stuff.
Interesting.
He has another character named Jake, I believe, who postures himself as like a billionaire playboy, kind of like Tony Stark-esque.
Yeah.
Mark is the primary personality, but what happens is he gets so deep into the personalities he can't pull. His brain literally sinks into it, and he
can't get out of it.
He can't get out of it. And that's part of the Moon Knight persona, because now Moon Knight has become another personality.
Got you.
Right?
Okay. Yep.
So he doesn't, and if you've seen the trailer, if you do a deep dive, I think New Rockstars, Eric Voss does great dissection of the trailers. In some instances, he doesn't know exactly who he is or how he ends up in places, because he'll just wake up.
Gotcha.
He's like, oh, who am I in this very moment? And in the comic books, there's a lot of play on, is he actually a superhero, or is it all really in his mind?
Got you.
But
okay.
he actually is, but depending on how the character is written, is like, is he really just in the loony bin right now, or is this actually happening? So he's supposed to be like very, very brutal, like, he's literally like the inverse of Batman. Batman wears all black. This guy, he wears all white, and he will kill.
And he's considered like a superhero, like a good guy versus like a villain or something like that.
He's anti-hero-esque. Like, he will do what's needed to get the job done.
And how does he fit into, or I guess, like, what is your prediction as far as how he fits into the overall plan for Disney at this stage in the game? Like, obviously they're kind of building life after the Avengers. So how does this character come into play?
This is Disney always has a plan.
Yeah.
Always. This takes us back to last episode when we talked about Eternals. All right, you remember that post-credit scene?
I never saw Eternals.
You didn't see it? Okay.
I just talk trash on it.
Okay. All right. Just give you a reason to go watch the post-credit scene.
Yeah, fast forward to the end.
Just go straight to the end. And so one of the characters in Eternals is Daniel Rickman, and he is the Black Knight who gets his bloodlust mystical powers from an ancient artifact called the Ebony Blade.
Okay.
And the Ebony Blade has basically an heirloom in his family. If you succumb to the bloodlust, you become the Black Knight.
Okay.
Right? And the Black Knight is associated with another Avengers-esque team in Marvel who kind of battle supernatural, magical realm-esque type things.
Okay.
And in this organization is Moon Knight, Blade, and the Black Knight, and Doctor Strange. And it's been a few different iterations, right? And so in that post-credit scene in Eternals, he opens, because he doesn't become the Black Knight in the Eternal movie.
Yeah.
Not to spoil it for you. He actually dates one of the Eternals.
Okay.
And it's hinted at throughout the movie, like, I got something to tell you about my family, right?
Yeah.
And it never comes out. And then the post-credit scene, he like goes to open the box that has the sword, and then a voiceover is Mahershala Ali saying, I can't remember, something like, you want to know about that blade or something like that. And he's been cast as Blade. So all of this is going to kind of probably roll over into, I don't know, show, movie. And I believe, if I can remember correctly, the name of the team is MI-13. I think. Maybe. I can't remember. Something like that. But it involves Moon Knight, Black Knight, Black Knight, Doctor Strange, and Blade.
So the idea is that maybe all these guys will come together at some point because they're kind of building those characters now. I know that Blade has already had a couple of films, but he's kind of queued up for a return.
Right.
Obviously,
right.
Doctor Strange is still around.
Right. So
this would potentially kind of lead us into that story.
Yeah. The realm that Doctor Strange and Moon Knight and Blade live in is the real, for lack of a better words, Halloween-esque.
Got you.
Villains, like one of the villains that's supposed to show up in Moon Knight is Werewolf by Night. He's a werewolf.
Sure.
Blade fights Dracula. Doctor Strange fights, mystical magic beings.
Yeah, and they were kind of saying that the next Doctor Strange film, the one that's coming out, is going to be, I guess not scary, but they were saying that it was going to be more in that like horror genre.
Yeah.
So that would kind of
get us there.
Yeah.
Right. So Moon Knight, I'm excited about it. Oscar Isaac is gold to me.
Yeah.
Really won me over with Ex Machina, and he was great in Star Wars. So I mean, he's just gold. Everything he does is great. I'm excited for him, and I just want to see where it goes. And we're supposed to get that soon. I think like March 30th. So that's
the next one slated to come out. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, I know very little about that character, but the trailer looked really cool and looked interesting. So I'm kind of excited to see.
I think what Marvel's doing, man, is their experimentation with these characters that people aren't familiar with. Is just it's a ploy, because you don't have to, even if you are familiar with them, you don't have to be familiar with it. It's just great TV. It all kind of, legacies together from one other thing. And, if you're a comic book buff, down the line, it could lead to something, and it may not. But it kind of gives you that draw, like, I want to know what else it connects to. You know? So, yeah. You said something about Ghostbusters. Did you see it?
I did. I watched it, yeah.
Are you did you have the proton packs and shit as a kid?
Yeah. I was never, as a kid, I don't remember myself being obsessed with the series or anything like that. But I definitely had some of the toys, and I remember the films pretty well. I don't know if I ever went dressed up as any of them for Halloween or anything like that. But I was definitely excited for this version or this iteration, I guess.
I haven't seen it yet.
Ghostbusters to drop.
I don't even know what app is it on. Is it on?
Sorry?
Is it on an app yet?
I mean, I think you can buy it to watch it. I think you can rent it or pay to stream it. I don't think it's on a Paramount Plus or anything like that yet. I could be wrong about that. I've not seen it.
I even watched that terrible remake with McCarthy.
Where they kind of, I guess, they didn't switch everybody over to girls, but they kind of launched a version of the series. Yeah, and I watched that one. I didn't think it was bad. It's tough, I think, when you have a franchise that's so beloved like that. It's
really tough. Yeah,
it's really tough to kind of try to do something different. Your heart might be in the right place, and it might not even be that bad of it might not be a bad film, but the diehard fans.
The fanboys were not.
Yeah, they kind of took offense to it a bit, which is a shame.
I didn't take offense to it. I just don't think it was good.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it for what it was. For
nostalgia reasons, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, there were aspects to it that I thought, and I like those characters. I like, not even the characters, I like those actresses a lot. So I enjoyed watching them on the screen. I thought they were fun. it wasn't the Ghostbusters that I think I wanted or that I think most people wanted. I think the more recent one was certainly more in the vein of what people were looking for. Right?
Okay.
I think it certainly ties back into the originals.
Because Bill Murray's in it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of everybody that is in the originals makes some appearance one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it certainly hits all of like the nostalgic components, and it really is effective from that perspective. And it's pretty good storyline. Like I think I think overall, like it was just very successful.
I'm gonna check it.
So I definitely recommend watching it.
All right. It's been on my list. I haven't seen it available.
Yeah.
We're Apple buffs, so you put on your Apple TV and it's like watch now, and it's
Gotcha.
yeah that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was out or not, but I will. I'll keep.
Speaking of Apple, you just started watching, what was the new show?
With Adam Scott. Severance.
Severance.
Oh,
How's that going?
did you watch the first one yet?
I've not watched it. No, I'm always a little late to the Apple TV shows, if I'm being honest, because I feel like traditionally they're not stellar.
Okay, so
I wait
that's
for
a good point.
people to really hype me up on it, and then maybe I dive into it. I also am somebody who, this is gonna be really weird, but it drives my wife nuts a little bit, but I don't like to watch a show initially when it comes out.
Yeah.
I like to wait a few weeks.
Yeah.
So that I can like stack up a couple of episodes, because I feel like nowadays more than ever shows it takes a little while for them to
For
get
the build up.
going.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to crank through a couple of episodes and get bought into it,
Right.
because if I can't do that, it's really hard for me to stick with a show it's like on a weekly basis, not something that's like completely available right now. So I generally try to wait a little bit. I've done that with like all of the Disney shows. Like I'll wait like for 3 of them and then I'll start the show. So yeah.
Okay.
So, but tell me a little bit about it. Worth the watch?
I'm going to preface this with I'm not overly impressed with the Apple TV lineup.
Yeah, it's a little weak. It's a little soft.
Stale, right? And I give each one of them a chance because I really enjoy the talent, a lot of the talent that they get.
Yeah.
But the shows themselves aren't. They had Finch with Tom Hanks, which I love anything sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, robots. That was great. I tried the Shrink Next Door.
Yeah, I got through probably 75% of that. I've not finished it yet. So I listened to the podcast of that like story, and that was my initial exposure to it. So
it is based on a true story.
It is based on a true story, and there's a podcast of the same name. I think, The Shrink Next Door.
Got it.
Highly recommend listening to that. I think that's actually much better than the TV show.
Okay.
I think the TV show accomplishes a lot of the things that the podcast sets up. So I don't feel like it's a failure of storytelling as much as it is just the show. I don't know. It's hard for whatever reason. I feel like the acting isn't as good as maybe it could be. Like I don't buy into every character as much as maybe as I could, and it's weird because they're all really great actors and actresses.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That show for whatever reason is never really caught on for me. But the podcast is great. It was like very binge worthy podcast.
All right, I'm gonna link this to Severance.
Yeah, back to that.
I don't know if I'm a fan of the far off dark comedy with slapstick comedians.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell. Like I like Will Ferrell in his element. This isn't his element.
Yeah.
It's a serious dark comedy. Like
Okay.
if you're familiar with Will Ferrell, you can laugh at, you will have moments of joy, but at the same time it's like I thought this was just going to make me just bust a gut the entire time, and I'm watching it like, yo, this is.
You're saying for The Shrink Next Door?
Yeah, I was like, yo, this is heavy. Now, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely like when you listen to the podcast, it's certainly like kind of a dark story, but they tell it through kind of a comedic lens because there is an absurdity to it.
Yeah,
like the characters themselves are kind of ridiculous, and what they're doing is kind of ridiculous. Like the whole situation is just absurd,
crazy. And
so I totally understand why they were coming from that place and why they tried to do that. But like, and the crazy thing too is like, I'm not even sure they chose the wrong actors and actresses. I don't know what it was. It just never really meshed for me. Like if you pitched me those actors and actresses after having listened to the podcast, I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. And it might even be, this is kind of a weird thought, but it might even be the fact that like Paul Rudd plays the role of the psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist is kind of like a person that you aren't really supposed to like all that much.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time not liking Paul Rudd
Yeah,
because he's a very
love Paul
likable
Rudd, right.
person. But I guess, again, if you listen to the podcast, you'd probably make the argument that, well, the therapist or the psychiatrist was a very likable person, which is why he was able to do all this.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
It's interesting. Maybe it's just not something that translates to TV very well.
Yeah,
but
it just didn't win me, and I'll probably visit it again to try and like force myself to finish because I'm such a big fan of those guys. But
yeah,
to that point, Severance is created by Ben Stiller.
Sure. Yep.
And it's kind of along the same tone as The Shrink Next Door.
Okay.
That dark comedy
Yeah.
with very serious undertones.
Yeah.
And so the premise of the show is you take a job at this company. The company is called Lumen.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently when you decide to work here in certain divisions, you have to undergo a procedure that's called the severance procedure. And what it does is this procedure, when you get to work, you're there from 9 to 5, 8 to 5. You have no clue about your outside self.
Yeah.
Right? Your work life and your personal life are completely separate.
Yeah.
So you go to work for 8 hours a day, you do the work, and then you get off and you get out of the elevator and you're like, oh, okay, I guess my work day is over. And you walk to your car and you go about doing the things you do after work.
Oh.
And then you do the cycle over. Is you get to work, you get in the elevator, and you get to the floor, and it's like, boom, you're back at work.
And so there's one episode of this out now, or is there more? There's two episodes.
Yeah,
and have you
about
watched
an hour.
Both of them?
Yeah, I watched both of them.
Okay. And you would rank, like, as far as you've seen a couple of Apple TV shows, you'd say it's like the better of the Apple TV shows you've watched, the best.
Yeah,
you enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
Is it funny or is it scary?
It's funny.
Or is it weird?
The lineup is Adam Scott, Brower. Is it Elizabeth Brower?
I don't know.
Well, I think that's her name.
Names. I saw the trailer, so I can go with it.
The guy, he's a comedian, but he's been in a few Marvel movies. He specifically was in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think he's a black guy, and he's like, Spider-Man, do a flip. That guy. He's one of the main cast.
Okay.
And I, from the Transformers franchise, the older guy who was the conspiracy theorist. You'll know who I'm talking about. I don't have time to pull up his name. We never do. I'm terrible with names. But they are the four main, and they work in this department together. Mm-hmm. And I'll just kind of kick off the first episode for you. Adam Scott is sitting in his car just crying.
Yeah.
And, he's just like frumpy and like his tie is all jacked.
Yep.
He's like wearing snow boots. He's got a raggedy coat hanging off of him. And he like pulls it together and he goes to work. He's like dragging. And then boom, he is like put together.
Got you.
Right? And he is like on it. Like, oh, boom, boom, boom. And his first day is to give an orientation for this new young lady that starts. So you get to see the process of how people are acclimated into the job.
Yeah.
Right? And it's heavy. It's the first two episodes. I can't really spoil anything.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not asking you to spoil it. Just wondering, like, you would say 1 to 10, 10 being the best show you've ever seen. You would place it on which end of the scale?
All right. Well, you got 10 bottles of whiskey on the wall. I give it an 8.
Okay.
That's pretty good. So far.
I don't know if there's any Apple TV show that I would rate that high.
No. Yeah.
I mean, I have enjoyed The Servant. I find that that's a fun show to watch. Like, I enjoy it, but like with most Apple shows, everything feels like it's just the most high-end, like the most high-end production, like the most expensive
Cameras
mediocre
and
show.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most expensive mediocre show out there.
I gave up on The Servant.
Why?
I just felt like
Couldn't go with it. It does get a little. I will say this: by the time you're like halfway through the second season, did you give up at the end of the first?
no, I made it.
Earlier than that.
No. I got through the first, and I think I got midway through the second.
Okay, so by the time you get like midway through the second season, and there's probably shades of this even in the first season, but you do kind of feel like it's so absurd and so extreme. It's hard to imagine that people would go through with so much of what they're doing, like with so much of what they're going through.
It's like at no point.
It seems very wild. Like I get the concept. Like the concept seems very rooted in reality, and then I know that it kind of goes down like this rabbit hole of like, you know, weird things happening, and then you know by the time we get through the second season, obviously there's like a paranormal supernatural component to the show. So obviously like we're off the rails there, but some of the characters in the show, even just like their behaviors and the things that they're doing, it's just like you can't even fathom, regardless of the situation, doing some of the things that they're doing or buying into some of the things that they're buying into. So I guess it kind of requires the viewer to just really fully disconnect.
A lot of the plot threads I felt were just too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like how long before she snaps out of it?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that should have kind of been the end point of season one, but something should have happened for all of them to have to stay in it.
Yeah.
In the running
I get you.
scam. And it didn't. It led into season two. Like she's still on this shit? Like I don't know, man.
Yeah. That's out of all the Apple TV shows I've watched so far, that's been my favorite. Like I've given that the highest marks. But have you, switching over to something more recent, have you checked out the new Space Force at all? Have you watched any of that new season yet?
Yes. I love Space Force.
You do?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
I forgot about Space Force. I think it's one of the other ones they got right because it kind of keeps Steve Carell in his element. Right? He's literally just Michael Scott as a space lieutenant or whatever. It's
man, I'm gonna let you finish this thought, but I couldn't disagree.
I'm good. Go ahead. Yeah. You couldn't disagree?
Yeah. I couldn't disagree with you more.
Okay.
I really feel like Space Force is, for the most part, a pretty big miss.
Okay.
It's another show that is like incredibly well made. Mm-hmm. Like obviously Netflix was like, we're gonna, spared no expense. I don't find Steve Carell's character very funny. I find more often than not, he's the only one that's kind of grounded in reality. Like it's kind of like the inverse of The Office almost.
Okay.
Like he's kind of like the Jim or something. Like he's a more serious character, I feel like. Like I've not seen the Michael Scott moments. Now, that could have a lot to do with the fact that he's a bit older, and with the political climate and stuff like that, like it's tough for him to be as politically incorrect, right? Which is kind of part of what made The Office so funny.
Yeah.
If you watch back some of those episodes, you're like, dang, I couldn't do this now, right?
Not at all.
That could also be it, is him maybe trying to be a little bit, because he is having to be a little bit safer, perhaps. Like, I don't know. It just, I want to like it so much. I really do. I find that Ben Schwartz, I find that, he is, I think he's good. I think he acts like himself.
Yeah.
I think he has some of the stronger moments from a comedy perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they definitely lean on him. I mean, I've not finished it yet. I think I'm 3 or 4 episodes in.
There's only one season, right?
There's 2 seasons.
Okay. See, I didn't get back into the second season.
Okay, so that's okay. Great. So rewind all this back to season 2, the start of season 2, which is what I'm kind of talking about. I'm 3 episodes in on the new season, which came out on last week.
Oh, okay. So I'm not.
Yeah. So
okay.
you've
all
not watched any of that.
I just missed it. Okay. All right. Cool.
So I think that in the second season, they've relied more on Ben Schwartz's character. I think they've written more comedy sketches kind of for him in the show.
All right.
You can kind of tell, like, within the first few episodes, he obviously, somebody was like, we have to give him more of the weight. Let him carry that. But I don't know. I want to like the show. I really do. And it's not that I dislike it. It's not as funny as I want it to be. It's not as great as I would like it to be. Like, there's so many amazing people involved in it.
It's not a home run, but it's a second base hit.
It just, it feels a little soft to me. I don't know. We'll see what happens by the end of the second season. Like I said, I'm only halfway through. I remember feeling that way about the first season. And interestingly enough, if you look at like the consensus of critics, and I understand you can't always go off of what critics say, but season 1 has like a 32% or something on Rotten Tomatoes, and season 2 has 100%. So obviously they feel like season
an average
1,
of like 70%.
Yeah, it's like, I think the overall average is like in the mid 70s now.
And what's your rule of thumb?
What?
Anything that gets above a 50%.
I think anything on Rotten Tomatoes, I think anything over a 50% has a shot of being decent for somebody. I think anything that falls in like the 20s and 30s, it's going to be kind of a wash. I mean, unless it's really made for you. Like, like the Uncharted movie is a good example, and I've not seen the Uncharted film at this point, but Uncharted it's kind of sitting, I think, around 50% on Rotten Tomatoes
already
right now.
Is it out?
Yeah, it came out last week.
Where have I been?
I don't know, man. Their movies are rolling out nowadays.
What the fuck?
But it's sitting kind of like right in the 50% range on Rotten Tomatoes, but people and critics have kind of been, trashing it a little bit. Like, it's not as good as Indiana Jones or any of these other movies. Like, it steals a lot from them, and it's not as...
Video game community is harsh on movies, bro.
Yeah. So I have a theory on this, which we can transition into now. But essentially, to kind of wrap up my last thought, is that like the fan reaction to Uncharted has been better. Like, more people, if you read like fan reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, like everybody seems to be like, oh, I had a really good time watching it. It wasn't amazing or like redefining of the genre, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was a lot of fun. I would watch it again, kind of thing, which isn't really indicative of a 50% rating. Like, that seems like it would be a higher rating in my opinion. But so, yeah, I think it probably misses in a lot of areas, but it seemingly is connecting with fans for whatever reason. But as for my theory on the video game thing, I really think that the big miss with video game adaptations is that we have thus far really done movie adaptations of video games. And I think that is like foundationally, I think that that's not what is necessary for a successful video game adaptation. Because I think video games really they are all about world building. I mean, you spend so much time in those, in those environments, whether it be like a Silent Hill or a Resident Evil, even Uncharted, something like that. Like, so much of the video game is really about the space and environment that you're in. And it's really hard to convey all of that in a 2-hour runtime, right? So I think a TV show is probably a much better format for a video game. Okay. So if we take a look at
you can explore so much more.
Yeah, so if you take a look at like The Last of Us, I don't know if you've played that video game or not.
I'm familiar, have not played it.
So The Last of Us, HBO is making that a TV show. They have the guys that did Chernobyl making that, which Chernobyl's great. So very, very excited, awesome. High hopes for that. Yeah. But I think it'll fare much better in the TV space, in the series space, because you have all of that time to set up and build the world of the video game, which again, for something like The Last of Us is exceptionally important, right? Yeah. I would say half of the game's experience really is you navigating this post-apocalyptic world, and you don't really get that when you condense something down into 2 hours into like a feature film. I think you miss out on a lot of that. So I feel like people who spend 15 hours, 20 hours beating these games feel shortchanged when they get out of the experience too.
It's like what happened to that character or that side mission. Like, there was not even a ploy to it. Like, there's nothing, like nothing there. So yeah, I understand that. I think Yeah, I think comic books. I think what Marvel's done, I think connecting everything kind of creates a longer thread with world building. I think that with shows of video games, that's what you should do. You can't condense. Yeah, I would feel cheated if I spent 20 hours playing a game that had so much content to then go just kind of see it just kind of jumbled all together.
Yeah. And it's not to say that there haven't been like some successful adaptations. I think Resident Evil,
which is coming back.
I think Resident Evil saw some success earlier on with some of the movies, but I think that like the cheat they utilized, if you will, is that they really kind of made them action movies, which changed the experience from something that was environment based and really made it more about, you know, kind of like the thriller aspect or the, you know, again, just that action movie formula. Like it really felt more like a Fast and the Furious without the cars or something. You know what I mean? It was just rather than like, let's build Raccoon City and let's like flesh all of this out and make it like this big environment. It was like, you know, it was just, it was like almost like playing like a level or something. In
just one level. And then
so I felt like, maybe that was like a successful version of it. I remember people being somewhat okay with that. I don't know how it held up like critically or anything like that, but I remember the initial Resident Evil people, I thought, enjoyed that for the most part. I think it went kind of off the rails after
Did you see the trailer for the new, it's a movie? It's a movie.
The new Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out.
Well, shut up.
It came out, dude, and everyone hated it.
The very new one?
Yes, I've not seen the very new one. It went like straight to streaming, I think, or it was in theaters for like a week. But it was it seemed very low budget.
I've been asleep for like the last 6 months, bro. Mm-hmm. I've just been very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very filtered with the content I've been allowing myself to watch. Like either I'm excited about it or I'm not.
Well, there's so much content out there nowadays. It's really hard to invest in everything equally. Yeah. And I feel like movies, man, with the pandemic and everything, movies really got the back burner treatment. Yeah. I mean, I didn't watch movies for a long time. It was all about TV shows. Right. It was all about, you know, streaming, you know, whatever Netflix had, or, you know, those were like the real big winners. You know, you put all those big like tentpole films on hiatus, and it's like you kind of lose interest in it all a little bit.
I don't feel like I'm doing my job as a proper co-host.
Which is a shame.
As I'm not.
It's all good. There's a lot of movies actually that I've not seen that I probably should have seen, given that, you know, given the topic of our show and whatnot. But the new Hellboy was a perfect example of something that I just couldn't stomach watching. Yeah. I mean, again, it just looked like such a miss. The trailer and everything looked like such a miss, which is unfortunate. I liked some of the actors and actresses that were in it. Like there was, I think, some good decisions there. But I think that doing that series without Guillermo del Toro was obviously a huge mistake. And it is a franchise that's like 100% invested in his version of the character, right? Like there is a cult following there, and they love the characters and they love the story and all that. But one of the big, one of the biggest factors for them is the director and the writer, right? Having him.
And people love Ron Perlman as Hellboy.
He's amazing. And Ron Perlman, every 6 months, comes back on Twitter and is trying to get the third one made. He's trying to always get that thing popping. And it's crazy to me that I don't know. It seems
they
like
should have just did that rather than.
It seems like they should have done that. Now, what I've heard, and obviously don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but what I've heard is that Guillermo del Toro, the third one was supposed to be a massive culmination of all these things.
Fan service.
And it was supposed to be incredibly expensive, and it was going to be R-rated, which, having something that's incredibly expensive and R-rated is never a great combination. I think it was supposed to be R-rated. In either case, it was super, super expensive. And he didn't want to make it for anything less because he didn't want to not deliver. And apparently that was, I guess, the big hang up. Right. Who knows now, given that he's, won the Oscars and kind of done all that and had, found new success, maybe today would be a different situation. But truly unfortunate that we never got the final chapter of that series, and we kind of got the rehash of it. I mean, I don't know. They did the same thing with Resident Evil. Truthfully, it was like, let's just make a cheap version of this and just get it out the door. I think with video games and comic book movies like that, a lot of times you have an audience.
Yeah, and then they know they're going to come back
of how much you put into it.
And I think that is not to move on, but I want to give you an example of something like that was kind of force fed. Its audience was this latest Matrix installment.
Ooh, yeah, I was. Man, that is an interesting one. I watched the latest Matrix, and I was kind of torn on that. To be honest,
it was. Oh, well, what are your feelings?
It's a fun world. Like, the Matrix is very unique, and it is a fun place to spend time. And I love those characters. And there were certainly aspects of it that I enjoyed. It lacked a little bit of the, like, I'm trying to think of the right, like, way to describe it. Like, the first trilogy, there was something special about it, even if you didn't like the second and third one.
Yeah.
There was something about it that just felt very, like, original and unique and special. And this film, the fourth one, felt like it really just kind of played off of those original concepts and really was just like, let's take some of those things that everybody loves so much and let's just do that one more time.
Yeah, let's just make it modern.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's literally what they did. Let's just take these concepts and make them modern.
Tough, dude. It's tough because I would not want to be responsible for not rebooting the Matrix, but I would not want to be responsible for carrying that story forward. That is a tough hill to climb, in my opinion. I probably would have left that one alone, but I understand why everything kind of gets reborn at some point.
I think it was a good introduction for people who never experienced the Matrix. Like, oh, okay, now I'll go back, right, and check out what the others, how we got here.
Yeah, it could be. I could see that perhaps.
But as a person who grew up in the Matrix era, it just felt like a rehash.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. It really was a rehash of what the original trilogy did. It didn't really feel like there was anything new or different. And maybe they were doing it just to see if there was an audience or an appetite for it. I'm not sure. It's hard to imagine that you would have been able to pull back some like the original actors and writer, director, and all of that. It's interesting that you could get all of them back for something that felt so not like cheap's not the right word.
Some of the stuff just felt too coy. Like
it felt too simple. Like it felt like they would all be like, "Hey, listen, we got to have like a really smoking idea for all of us to get back out there."
Yeah, it literally just was all three movies just packed right back into one and made modern. And I don't get me wrong, like I kind of enjoy it. My wife made a statement or a comment about Keanu Reeves. She's like, is this just the Keanu Reeves we're getting for the rest of his life? Like, just
I think so.
The long-haired, stoic version.
Yeah, he's kind of found cult fame, I feel like. People
aesthetic.
Love his character at this point. Like, he will forever probably get cast. And again, whether he wants it or not, who knows? I mean, he might try to do something different. But I think people will write characters for him, and I think people will cast super specifically
just on his stoic aesthetic.
Because he kind of sells movies just based on that. It's kind of like Liam Neeson in a way, right?
Yeah.
He kind of like people fell in love with who he was after Taken, and literally they've remade Taken 15 times. They're writing them. They're
2
writing
and 3
these
different franchises,
for
the
him.
same exact movie.
Yeah, and people keep going back because they want to see Liam Neeson
just
be Liam
shoot
Neeson.
people and break bones, I guess.
Yeah, like John Wick is, it's a show or a movie or a franchise rather that is kind of designed around Keanu Reeves and who he is as a character now. It's like they're almost just following him around in real life, and he's just, that's who he is.
I read a Reddit theory that said that John Wick is a simulation that Neo is in when he just wants to blow off some steam.
Yeah, that's
He
hilarious.
just goes into John Wick and just kills people. Just
That would be a wild connection.
Yeah.
To eventually make.
Yeah, I doubt they'll ever do it, but I thought that was funny. Speaking of John Wick, the Citadel, the show has legs. It's coming to HBO.
Which one is this?
The Citadel, about the
This is
the
from
hotel.
the John Wick thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
the hotel. Is it called the hotel? Or is it called the Citadel?
It's a great question.
I can't remember.
I'm not 100% sure. I've only ever seen the John Wick. Like, I've seen all the movies in the John Wick franchise, but I've only seen them like once. So I'm not totally familiar with the.
It's supposed to be based
background.
around the hotel itself.
Yes. Familiar
And
with that. I know
all of
I know
the
that.
assassins, not just John Wick,
That
who
kind
are,
of come and go.
who are in and out of the hotel. I'm not sure if it's a prequel. I hope it's like current setting. Like I don't know if I want a John Wick prequel show, or I guess or how all of this came about. I don't think it's a franchise I really care too much about history.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the whole like HBO and, Warner thing, they're trying to squeeze the blood out of every stone they have.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna see TV shows of any successful franchise, any successful movie for that matter. Like I was saying on the last podcast, like I think if you get if you make a movie and you get above a 50%, you're getting 3 of them.
Yeah.
Above a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, that is, you're getting 3 of those, and you're getting a franchise. And then, I mean, my God, they've made like 10 Fast and the Furiouses, and that for sure will become a TV show at some point. You know what I mean? Like
there'll be something
that will not die. At
something
the end of
that'll
10.
be
Like,
Fast
they
and the
will
Furious-esque.
There's too much money there, so I think the John Wick thing totally makes sense, I guess, from a financial perspective. And like I said, with Warner Bros. And HBO, they're trying to get as much as they can out of everything.
Are you a Fast and the Furious fan?
I am not current on the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Neither am I.
I don't have anything against it.
I feel like it's just senseless action. You can pop a beer and
I think they really went I think
they're going to
really
be in space
went
at
over
some
the
point.
top. Yeah. And I think people like that aspect of it, right? Like, it's just always fun to see people try to one up themselves from the previous
I was kind of
film.
I was fed up when I seen Vin Diesel jump across the highway and save someone and land on the roof of a moving car and are you okay?
I can totally
"Come
understand
on."
pitching that to Vin Diesel and both of you being super stoked.
So that was kind of my fed up point, but I eventually tuned back in.
Yeah.
It's moving into the lane of more supernatural stuff, not ghostly, but
I mean,
on
the
the
concept,
superhero.
Yeah, the concept I feel like
Yeah.
even in the beginning was a little absurd. Like a gang of street racers that were going to be brought together to fight crime.
One of
in
my
some
buddies is
way or
all
another.
about it. My buddy Torian is all about
Yeah,
goddamn.
he's all about family, dude.
all about family.
All about family.
It's just I love the running joke about Dom Toretto. It's all about family. I mean, look, if it's a new movie, if it's new and it's on, I'll get some popcorn.
Oh, and you know what
I'll watch it.
and this is the most amazing part about it, and this is why I'm actually all for the Fast and the Furious. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So I'm all for it. All of those actors and actresses, and even the filmmakers themselves, have made an astonishing living off of that series and off of that franchise.
Ludicrous?
Dude.
Ludacris is balling right now.
Dude, there is a whole universe of the Fast and the Furious, and they have all just made this world that they are getting paid, and they're having fun, and they're hanging out with their friends, and they're doing cool shit all the time. So I totally get why
It saved so many careers.
why they've continued to do it. I 100% get that. If there's who wouldn't want to drive fast cars and do crazy stuff with their friends all of the time and just get paid and have a blast? That sounds
Ludacris,
amazing. I would do it, regardless of how
Tyrese.
good the movies were.
Who else is in that franchise?
The Rock was in that franchise.
Oh, him and Vin Diesel are
Fighting?
at odds.
Yeah, that's
beefing.
because The Rock bailed. He's like, I'm done, I'm out.
I mean, they kind of they gave him his own movie, and I kind of expected that to be it. Like, I didn't expect for him to.
Yeah, they all got a little salty because I think The Rock is like an actor who's like not even he's on the come up, but like he's been big for a while, but he's like more famous now than ever. Like he's very successful. Like the Fast and the Furious guys, like that core group, they kind of need that franchise. He doesn't.
He's the new Will Smith, man.
He's got plenty of stuff to do. Like he hopped in for like fun and then was like, I got other things to do, guys. But everybody else is like, this is what we have.
You remember when Will Smith was just like the $100 million man in the box office? Like boom, 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 boom. And now,
what is, not to go off on a hugely deep tangent, but what is he doing?
I think he's in the passion project part of his career now.
Ah, very good.
You know, midlife crisis. I got to do everything. It has to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, he had the book and that embarrassing PR stint.
I mean, maybe now he's just hanging out and he's just done with movies.
He does have an awesome show on Disney Plus.
You know, I've seen the trailers for it, but I've not watched it. That really just feels like something that they were like, can we follow you around with cameras? And then he was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what the concept of the show is. I've just seen the trailer and it's like Will Smith just like out doing things. It's not like he's at Whole Foods, but like he's out doing things. I think they're like, we're just going to film you.
I call it celebrity saturation, right?
Yeah.
You get so oversaturated with seeing someone and then you're just like, I don't want to see this person anymore.
Yeah.
And then you forget why you fell in love with their art, their movies and stuff like that. And I feel like I have a small bucket of people that I feel like that about. And it's like Will Smith is one of them. Kevin Hart is one of them.
But there is a way to avoid it, which is really interesting. And I'm not sure what that way is. But I think that there are people like Tom Hanks is somebody who has...
Oh, he's mastered it.
For some reason, he has like avoided all of that. Like he's somebody who just like kind of consistently like does a good job.
I think, well, he's also older. And I think that
But him and Will Smith got to be like close in age, no?
Will Smith's in his 50s. I'd say. I think Tom is pushing 70.
I don't know.
Maybe. He looked very, very old in Finch.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like Will Smith is not a young gun anymore. But
no,
maybe. I don't know.
Got to be in his 50s. But
in either case, Tom Hanks never has seemed to have gone through that phase.
No. Tom Hanks, I feel like is very particular. He also is old school.
Remember when he got COVID and the whole world like
he's like the first one.
Yeah.
That was not cool because I was like, yo, we are about to lose.
He was in like Australia.
Tom Hanks. I was like, yo, this is not cool. And then like the next day the NBA shut down. I was like, yo, this is. And then now 2 years later, you know, we're here. But it's just like that's when it got scary.
That's when it really spiraled out and like lockdowns just went all in on them.
Yeah, the world was like, not Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
like,
all right. If Tom Hanks is getting it, we've got to shut down everything.
Yeah, that shit was scary. I was legitimately like concerned.
Yeah,
for Tom
and
Hanks.
like the news, everything was like following him like day in and day out. Like
he's one of my favorite
6 o'clock news. They were like, and today with Tom Hanks.
I love Tom Hanks, man. He's
one always videos. He's like, I feel fine.
He's like, you know, like I had like mild temperature.
He was like in Australia with his wife hanging out at a hotel.
Yeah, they were kicking it and shit. He's like, trust me, it's not as bad as they make it seem. But you're also $1 million celebrity who can get top notch healthcare. Just
Sure.
So yeah, but my point was with Will Smith, celebrity oversaturation. Man, I felt like we were at the point we were just consistently seeing him. So when he came out with the show, I was just like, I don't want to see anything else Will Smith. And then like I was chilling with the kids one night and they all passed out on me and I was stuck in Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And the only way I could control the Apple TV was like with my watch.
Wow.
So I just kind of like swiped over to like the next thing and it was Will Smith's show. So I got stuck there. And it's literally, well, National Geographic is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's what you said it was. We follow him around while he like jumps in volcanoes and shit.
Sure. Yeah.
But
I get it.
It's a whole world concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going in here into a volcano with two scientists, and wherein one of them is deaf, right? And how they measure the activity in the volcano is based on vibrations, and they correlate that to how he's so successful at his job because he's not deaf, he's blind.
Okay.
Let me switch that up.
Matrix
He's
thinker.
blind, right? He's blind, and he says him being blind accentuates his hearing and how
Makes sense.
he can help measure the volcanoes. But it's great. He goes like deep sea under the ocean, so it's a calming thing. If you just like want to go like 3 glasses in and like smoke a cigar and just have something on when you're alone.
I feel like I have way too many things to watch before I'm at that point in my
It's
life.
one of the things where you just kind of want to like tune out and you don't want your brain to worry about the main character dying or some shit like that.
I got you.
But yeah, I was sick of Will Smith until I seen that. So
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's coming back.
you just kind of get tired of seeing people.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Tom Hanks is still around.
All right. Well, that's it for this one.
That
We're an hour
was
in,
great.
So
Good to see you. I didn't drink
It's good to
anything
see you,
this
man.
episode. I'm
Yeah,
not a good
a shame.
bad guy.
No, not at all. The Knob Creek smoked maple is excellent. It's very
I'll have
good.
some to send us
It's
off.
delicious.
You want to give us 2 minutes? I can do a little shot real
a
quick.
little taste?
Yeah. What we got?
Go ahead, do it.
You want to do something?
I've had some, so
You want to talk about something funny and then we leave?
what do you want to talk about?
Chris Pratt doing Mario?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
And he's not
next
going to have the fucking accent. Fuck
We'll
that
go-
guy. Fuck that guy.
We'll get into it in the next episode.
All right.
That's
see y'all.
interesting. All right.
Follow us, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good shit. See y'all.
Goodbye.